is currently 11 o'clock at night, and I went through the trouble of shaving for all you bozos, because this sheet of paper that I've got right here has been my kind of scroll of musings during the spare moments that I have at work, my creative outlet this particular week that I record this video. For some reason, I like to go back and rewatch some of my older Godzilla Save the Earth Melee related videos, just because at this point I have some form of nostalgia for them due to the fact that, you know, I learned how to make videos and got a feel for this whole video making shtick, you know, through them. And one of them that I have particular fondness for is the video that I titled The Atomic Age, which I should hopefully be putting a card up on the screen for right about now. But because my video about the aftermath of STEMmas has kind of popped off in terms of view count in relationship and in comparison to my other YouTube uploads, one of the skins in it reminded me of a facet of the Godzilla Save the Earth Melee project that I did not ever cover. And I blame most of that on the fact that, like I said, I have nostalgia for those old videos because those videos were the ones where I was still not really sure where I was going with the format of my content. And so I ended up looking over things, and I haven't gotten back to it yet, but this video I am going to be doing that. Today I wish to discuss the character of Angilas. I highly recommend that if you do not know why I am calling him Angilas, that you go watch that old video about the Atomic Age. But the short version is that the 1954 Godzilla is Godzilla Classic, and Angilas has the latter day show incarnation seen in Destroy All Monsters and in Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, as well as his own classic incarnation, but it is not denoted through a parenthetical of the word classic as is the case with Godzilla. Instead, the ingenious decision was made to call the classic iteration of Angilas, which is of course one of the many names that has been given to Angilas over the years. This video is not going to be a complete retread of all of that stuff. There does seem to be some interesting lore changes that I did not pay any attention to when I originally went over this manual, but that is not what I am going to be covering here today. No, I in particular wanted to call attention to the skin selection screen, because while I was listening to my coverage of the new render for the singular point version of Angilas as is present in the Angilas manual, I remembered that there is currently no rage move listed for any of the various incarnations of Angilas, as you can see on the screen right now. So I kind of brainstormed up a number of ideas. Before I detail any of them, I will say I did not rewatch Godzilla Raids Again in its entirety for this video, but I did kind of skim through the movie just to find the parts where Angilas is present, just to kind of get some inspiration and more closely tie the rage move idea to this iteration of the character and the screen time which it had. But it should be said, Angilas is not really active in much of the movie's screen time based on my cursory skimming of it. His whole purpose in the plot really seemed to just be, we need Godzilla to fight something. Or if you watch the English dub localization version, they needed a monster for Gigantis to fight. And that will become relevant after I talk about my rage moves. Okay, my first idea. Something I noticed in a lot of the combat footage in Godzilla Raids Again is that Angilas charges into Godzilla and, you know, they kind of thrash about with each other, and it's rather wrestler-esque, but it's not even nearly as good as how giant monster wrestler fighting got later on in the Showa series. But I also skimmed through Gigantis the Fire Monster and tried to see if there was anything from it that that I could glean, and I thought of a way that you could combine the kind of rushdown stampeding that Angilas does, like in the Japanese version and in the recut Gigantis the Fire Monster version. Angilas and Gigantis are noted by the one dinosaur professor guy that is not Dr. Yamane, that Angilas and Gigantis evolved to survive in an era of the Earth's history where fire was a lot more common and prevalent. And there's a lot of imagery of, prehistoric Earth that they clearly used a smoke machine to help film.
What you are looking at, gentlemen, is the formation of the world millions of years ago, as science has been able to reconstruct it for you. Out of the boiling atmospheric gases of our planet Earth, nature evolved a world much hotter than the ones we know of today. Out of these boiling earth pools came a primitive form of life, which, normally enough, required oxygen and nitrogen. These creatures were born out of fiery matter. Their very existence was based upon the element of fire. They breathed fire. They survived in fire. Fire was a part of their organic makeup.
But obviously, because the movie was filmed in black and white, there's not a lot of burning red hot fire, and the steam kind of ends up basically looking identical to Godzilla's atomic breath / Gigantis's atomic breath. Is it even atomic breath for Gigantis? Feel like it's just fire in that version of the movie, at least. Anyway, my idea is that Angilas gets on all fours and then kind of shakes and ruffles a little bit, and while he's doing that, he kind of glows white-gray and starts emanating particle effects that basically would just resemble smoke. White-hot flame and white smoke and, all those kinds of things. And then Angilas charges forward and stampedes towards the opponent, and then I thought it would be fitting to have Angilas kind of do a bite, tear it up, kind of like this. And the reason I say that is because Godzilla / Gigantis and Angiras / Angilas are really fond of biting each other, particularly in the neck, in Godzilla Raids Again / Gigantis the Fire Monster. So having Angilas glow white and emanate white hot flame steam, and then charge into Godzilla / Gigantis / the enemy monster, obviously in this game's context, and then performing a sort of rip and tear kind of jaw uppercut feels like an homage to that kind of facet of that movie. In terms of how this would work mechanically, I must say that I do not know how this particular move is going to work / look in Godzilla Save the Earth Melee as it currently stands, but from how it is described in the rest of the monster manual, Showa Godzilla's rage move taking flight sounds like it is going to be roughly similar to what I am kind of thinking of for this. Basically, a really powerful rush move that propels Showa Godzilla in that case, but Angilas in this case, towards the opponent, and then does massive damage upon the point of contact. As far as I'm aware, there is no footage of this move in Showa Godzilla's moveset, and I imagine I would know about it if it was in a state that could be shown to the public, because that feels like something they would make an official reveal trailer for, and I have a feeling they will just let us see that as soon as it is ready to be seen. Anyway, that was not the only idea that I had. My other idea was closely tied, just as that last one was, with the bit at the beginning of Gigantis the Fire Monster, where they talk about how the prehistoric Earth was molten and bathed in fire, and Angilas and Gigantis were accustomed to / evolved to deal with that sort of environment. I would basically have this version of the rage move be identical in startup to that previous one that I just described, but I would basically just have it cause a massive explosion, kind of like Godzilla's nuclear pulse in Destroy All Monsters Melee and Save the Earth, but obviously different in appearance, and obviously obviously with the white hot flames, steam, smoke, particle effects adorning it. Maybe I would take inspiration from the fact that there is at least one military assault on Godzilla / Gigantis and Angiras / Angilas in Raids Again / Gigantis the Fire Monster. So maybe you could style the appearance of the white hot flame, smoke, steam explosion after the explosion seen during the Japanese military bombardment of the two creatures. Functionally, I feel like both of those end up working the same way. The only other thing that I could draw a comparison to would be Godzilla Millennium, and particularly the nuclear lightning rage move that the 2002 and 2003 skins for the character have. Also, I just noticed Anniversary G2K has Gold Pulse for its rage move. I will not dwell on that, but we do not know yet how the nuclear lightning rage move is going to work / function, but if it's a bunch of lightning bolts kind of just sporadically striking the ground around Godzilla, I could see a sort of bombardment style explosive volley sort of move being a rage move for Angilas and it working kind of in a similar way. But again, we don't know how the nuclear lightning rage move is going to work anyway, so now anyone who was paying attention on the Angilas alternate skin screen noticed that there is of course the Godzilla singular point iteration of Angiras as a skin for the Angilas character. This skin does not have a rage move at present also, and I think either one of the rage moves that I just outlined as potential ideas for rage moves for Angilas could also work for the singular point version of Angiras. The only difference being, of course, that I would replace all of the smoke.
Oh, that isn't smoke, it's steam.
And steam and fire particle effects with rainbow color time distortion-esque effects. Of course, being a reference to the fact that singular point Angiras has time travel properties for some bizarre reason. I feel like the writers of Singular Point just really wanted to flex their pseudoscience, pseudo-philosophy writing chops. I feel like calling them writing chops, though, gives them a little bit too much credit considering that anime really was not that great. But anyway, I mentioned that Angilas was obviously in Gigantis the Fire Monster, right? And I said that I had a little bit more to say about Gigantis specifically. So what did I mean by that?
What do you mean by that?
I mentioned that Godzilla 1954 is Godzilla Classic here, and obviously he was named Gigantis in Gigantis the Fire Monster. And as we can see here, as we went over in this manual before, Gigantis is a skin for Classic Godzilla. Notable about this, though, is that Particles is listed as TBD for reasons that I do not know, nor, completely honestly, do I really understand it. But for sounds, Gigantis has 1955 relevant listed. When I was reviewing Godzilla Raids Again / Gigantis the Fire Monster in preparation for this video, I noticed something that I probably noticed the first time I watched it, but I have just blanked it from my memory because the movie was that bad. Though there were a handful of instances in Gigantis the Fire Monster in which I could hear the classic 1954 Godzilla roar, it really seemed to me like Gigantis the Fire Monster basically replaced the classic basic Godzilla roar with just repeats of Angiras' roar. So in this case, the roar of Angilas. So my question is, what are the developers from Nasty Soft for the Godzilla Save the Earth Melee project going to be doing in this regard? Obviously, Angilas is going to have his own sound set, right? And Classic Godzilla, in specific, the 1954 version of Classic Godzilla, will have his own sound set. But I am pretty sure that the Godzilla Raids Again Japanese sound set for Godzilla was rather close to the 1954 Godzilla sound set. And it was only in Gigantis the Fire Monster that Godzilla himself, in the form of Gigantis, was given the roars of Angiras / Angilas. If they wanted to distinguish the Gigantis skin from the other versions of Classic Godzilla in a very distinct manner, maybe it would make sense to kind of have Gigantis share sound effects with the Gigantis the Fire Monster iteration of Angilas. That's just an idea that I kind of mulled over in the process of trying to come up with a rage move for Angilas, and perhaps Nasty Soft and the Godzilla Save the Earth Melee development team have already considered this very thing that I just laid out, but I figured if I was doing a video about a rage move for Angilas, I could probably stand to go back and talk about the sound effects for the Gigantis skin for Classic Godzilla, especially considering the Gigantis skin box does not currently have any sound effects assigned to it, and I did do a whole video talking about the various roars and musical motifs / musical snippets in the Monster Manual, which I highly recommend that you check out. So yeah, there's all that. I just thought that merited its own discussion video. That's all I've got for today. I know I said it in the last Godzilla Save the Earth Melee video that I put out, but I can't think of anything else to talk about in regards to this project, and in truth, the only reason I have done this video is because I realized that there was a Swiss cheese hole in my old catalog of Godzilla Save the Earth Melee videos, which there will be a card for at the end of this video. But even if you don't go that route, you can find the playlist on the playlist tab on my YouTube channel page. If you enjoyed this video in any way, shape, or form, please consider dropping a like and leaving a comment in the comment section below, telling me what other stuff I have forgotten to cover about Save the Earth Melee, or just your own ideas, you know, what would you do for a rage move for Angilas? All that sort of stuff. If you really enjoy my content and wish to motivate me to continue making new videos after my well of pre-recorded content runs dry, I would also appreciate that. And if you really want to be my friend and truly support me, please consider checking out my merch store, Mount Merch. I have a lot of different t-shirts, tank top, hoodies, coffee mugs, and the like up on Mount Merch. As of the time of recording this video, no one has bought any of it, and I promise you, whoever buys the first thing, I'm not gonna know your name, but I will probably make a brief video celebrating the fact that you purchased something once I am notified that someone has actually bought something. Also, please consider, and this is a bit of a major announcement, although I'm going to put it here and keep it here, I am currently in the process of contingent purchase of a home. So if any of you would like to support my kind of move and help relieve the stress that will be incurred upon my cerebrum by the financial pressure, then you should definitely check out the merch store, because I tried to make all of the merchandise on Mount Merch as affordable as I could get without literally giving it to you without profiting off of it in any way. So an extra stream of revenue would really help me out. Anyway, that's it. I'm going to stop begging for your money at this point. It's almost midnight for me here. I need to get a shower and go to bed. So with that, I will say, as I usually do, I hope all of you take it easy, and until next time, I will catch you on the flip side.